Hi everyone. So we've all had that experience where you're so excited to start a new piece of music, it comes in the mail or it comes home from the store or wherever, and you open up the cover page and you look at it and you just say to yourself, oh my gosh, I've never seen something this hard, I have no idea how I'm going to play this, this is impossible. Well, there's a lot of music out there that's like that today. The 20th century saw an unprecedented rise in virtuosity expected of the everyday player, and it really hasn't stopped all that much, whether it's having extreme mixed meters, lots of eighth note meters, or very unusual writing for your instrument. Composers just continue to demand more and more of their instrumentalists. So today we're going to talk about what to do when you get that music that just looks completely impossible. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to get the music in your ear. You can't play it if you can't hear it, and there are a couple ways to go about doing that. My preferred method is to take it to a piano. I find that getting the music under your fingers helps you to feel the intervals out a little bit better, and it helps you to recognize patterns, and that's another really important thing to do while you're getting to know the music in the beginning. If you can recognize patterns or sequences, that can help to organize your brain, and it can also help to organize how you go about playing the music technically. We'll get to that in a minute. Another way to get to know the music, if it's in a really high register or a really low register for your instrument, if it's very impractical to play, take it into an octave that is more practical for your instrument, so that it's easier to hear the music without worrying about, okay, am I in the right position? I have to worry about my sound quality up there. Get all of that other stuff just out of the way so you can just hear the music to begin with. The other way to get to know this music is to just listen to it, whether it's through Spotify or YouTube or any other number of streaming services. There are very few things out there today which are not on some kind of a record. So if you can find a way to listen to the whole context, then that can help you to sort through your own part as well. Make sure that you analyze the music on your own instrument, that you know if you have to take a certain shift, you know where you're shifting from, where you're shifting to, and how big that shift is for string players. For wind and brass instruments, if you have to make a register change, know exactly where that change is going to take place and how it's going to occur. You need to know exactly how the music lays on your instrument if you're going to have a shot at playing it. No guessing. No guessing. Guessing is unprofessional, and it's beneath us, honestly. When you start practicing, so that's the getting to know you phase, that's the working out, this is what it sounds like, and this is how I'm going to play it. When you start playing, make sure to start slow, very slow. When I'm getting to know something that is right at the edge of my ability to play it, I generally start at or under half tempo. Oftentimes much slower than that even. It's really useful for these purposes also to have not just a regular metronome. Of course a metronome is part of everyone's everyday practice tools, but it's really useful to have a metronome that has a wider range than the average metronome offers. For example, lots of smartphones or tablets have metronomes that'll go right down to 1 beat per minute, which is, the 1 beat per minute is fairly impractical. But for a lot of these pieces that have complex to mixed meters, you'll often have to count eighth notes. And conventional metronomes often don't go down lower than 40 beats to minute or the 35 beats to the minute. And it's important to be able to go lower than that so that you can count the eighth notes in that way. So you start slow, and you really, when you're starting out learning how to actually play it on the instrument, you really need to expect perfection out of yourself. Not pretty good. You need to not let even just that tiny little shifting slip go by. It has to be absolutely perfect. Because otherwise, if you just let just a tiny little thing slip by in the first couple repetitions while you're going really slowly, that very small thing, when it gets to be very fast, gets real big really easily. So you need to expect perfection out of yourself. If you're not expecting perfection out of yourself, then there's no point to playing very slowly with the metronome. You're playing slowly so that you can play very well. So expect perfection of yourself when you're playing very, very slowly. And lastly, patience is your friend. A lot of times, a really common story that you hear is the story of the person who practices super, super hard on day one, and they get it right from 0 to 60 in one day, and they're so proud of their work, and they get back the next day, and all of their work is just gone, and they start to despair because, oh my gosh, I worked so hard and now it's all gone. Well, music that's very difficult takes time to really set in and for you to really know the passage. Generally speaking, by the time a performance comes around of a very difficult work, I usually have it memorized. It doesn't necessarily mean that I play without the music, but it does mean that I'm really just using the music that's in front of me as a guideline rather than reading each individual note. So be patient with yourself. It takes time for this stuff to really set in. If you start out at, say, 30 beats per minute on any given super difficult excerpt, I typically, by the end of the first day, see if I can get it up to 40, maybe 50 max, not more than 20 beats per minute per day of an increase in tempo. It usually takes me about a week to really solidify it to the point where I can just toss it up to the tempo where I want it to be and expect it to be good. I've actually found, as long as we're on the subject of practicing slowly, if you're ever on a deadline, let's say you get music the day before a concert or 2 days before the concert, I find that rather than practicing it and working really hard to get it up to tempo, exactly up to tempo, I find that it's much more effective to get more repetitions at a slower tempo than it is to practice for 2 hours and work your way up there and get 1 repetition or maybe 2 repetitions at the super fast tempo. I just find that keeping it slow gives you a better chance to guess if the occasion should rise where you need to guess when you only have a day or two to practice the music. So yeah, that's that. Take heart. When the music looks super tough, it is super tough, but it's not impossible. There's almost nothing out there that's, strictly speaking, literally impossible. So your response is not, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to play this. Your response should be, how am I going to get there? So, that's that. I'll see you all next time.